Are you in a lot of pain and mental anguish about your partner's past and body count that leads to a lot of doubts? Hi, this is Noemi. So let's just look at what you can do if you feel that your partner's past is promiscuous and you don't quite know whether you can trust them or not. So obviously we are talking about retroactive jealousy, and when that impacts your life, it is there almost all the time, or it comes back in waves to such an extent that it really feels uncontrollable. So it is not just kind of a slight intellectual debate with yourself. It is real emotional and mental pain. So when you feel that you are with a partner that is loving and trusts you, and you also have this, so you feel that the relationship has a future, right? Because otherwise, going through all this pain is not really worth it, or you're not actually investing in something. So that's when you want to ask yourself these questions. First and foremost, we whilst it's important to know the person, so it's what we have gone through shapes us. It is part of our overall history and sense of self. But change does happen. We actually change the way we behave. We can change the way we relate to each other. So whenever you think about these things, when you are in the depths of doubt, then remember that people do change. So, one thing that you can do is whenever the doubt comes, when you have these mental pictures and you have these intrusive thoughts, remind yourself that the person you are with today is the person that counts for you, counts in your life. So it is much better and more logical and closer to reality if we judge somebody based on their activities today, how they behave, how they act, how they relate to us as well as others, because we do see them in social situations unless we are entirely insular. So judge your partner based on how they behave today rather than based on how they might have behaved in the past, or they behaved in the past, but it is a past that they left behind. So it's really important to distinguish between just because I have a certain past, it doesn't actually mean that my future will is deemed to to repeat itself, to be like the past, or to sink back there, or anything, any thoughts that might come up. Always remind yourself what is the present, and judge the person based on their present behavior and activities. The second thing that you can do is look at your own thoughts. Look at your own thought patterns as well. One thing that is easy to fall prey to, to some extent, is to believe that our thoughts are absolutely true or absolute truth. So equate a thought with something that cannot be denied, or something that even has some sense of reality sometimes. So we can, if we actually looked at all our thoughts, most of it is once investigated, or you have done some introspection or some research, you will realize that it is not really true. So and it's okay, because that's mental noise. There is a lot of mental noise. But when we talk about, for instance, retroactive jealousy or anxiety, then that noise factor is turned on higher. So it's kind of it's like when in the radio, it's kind of it's not really hearing the the sounds and the sounds of reason. Sometimes it's we are hearing all the noise and we are focusing on all the noise because the brain is is basically oriented towards what could harm us, and therefore we tend to perceive things that are not necessarily there, and we tend to pay attention to negative thoughts and possibilities, and we are very good at believing them. So when these doubts come about your partner, unless you have evidence to say they cannot be trusted, then remember that your thoughts might actually be far from reality. They are just thoughts, they are just mental noise. And the third thing that I would encourage you to do is have have a conversation with your partner. But it is very important how you talk to them, not just the fact that you talk to them, especially if you have tried it and it didn't quite go the way you expected it. So conversation has to be open. Instead of saying you made me feel this way or because of your past, which brings in a sense of I I think it's all your fault, rather than there is something going on inside me. It is related to you insofar as it's these are thoughts about you and your past, but it's not generated by you. It's not your behavior that makes it uh, even exist or fuels it. So you want to say, this is how I feel. And I would like to change this, because it interacts with and negatively impacts the way I feel about you or the way I relate to you. And of course, it negatively impacts my own mental well-being. So this way you are taking responsibility for your own thoughts, for your own insecurities, and you're inviting them to support you rather than blaming them, which would put them on the defense. And it would either be more difficult for them to support you because they are already threatened by having been blamed about something, about their personhood and about their uh, because if you just say that behavior uh, in the past was something that so something that makes me feel in a certain way, then you might say that's a behavior. I know that you don't do that anymore. And then again, you take responsibility. But if you say, because you have done that, I'm sure you will do it again, then you're talking about not just a behavior, you're talking about personhood, you're talking about their personality. You're saying that this is the only way they can be because this is the way they have been. So basically, building these skills to to see the person through their behavior today rather than what they did in the past or how they lived in the past, then looking at your thoughts and being really investigating them, being really critical, because not every thought is real, and not every thought should be even entertained. And then thirdly, having conversations in which instead of blaming the other person, you're inviting them. So always ask yourself, am I having this conversation just for me to feel better? Even if the price is that the other person feels bad, that's quite selfish. So hopefully this is not what you want to do. Or are you saying, I want this conversation because I need support and I recognize that I need support? And secondly, because I treasure this relationship and I want it to last and I want it to flourish. And that can only happen when I take responsibility for my own things, and I also am open enough for the support of another person who is there and who is loving with me.